Welcome to Shared Insights, the podcast from BA Insight. My name is Pete Wright, and I am joined today by BA Insight Solutions Consultant and Project Lead Sanjaya Paudel. Welcome, Sanjaya.
Thank you, Pete. Good to be here.
It is great to have you here. You are here today to share an interesting implementation story. If you have ever wondered how to build a global enterprise search system and help your users be truly self-sufficient while accessing multiple systems, high degree of complexity, that is the story we're going to hear today. You ably step into Jeff's shoes while he is traveling the world and speaking and seeking the wonders of search. Right now, I think he's in D.C. Who knows where he'll be tomorrow? But thank you for stepping in and sharing the story today. Where would you like to start in terms of setting up this project that we're going to be talking about today? Where do you think is a good place to set up our audience to understand what you were trying to accomplish?
Sure. Maybe I'd like to start how we got this project in a way, how we started. So first of all, the customer came to us for a POC. Right, and I think we were competing with two other vendors, and the strength for us there was we were able to showcase the search system in a given amount of time, take care of their use cases. So they had like 7 or 8 set of use cases they wanted to see in the POC, and we were able to demo that using both SharePoint and Elasticsearch at the same time. And the tools and the products that we have allows that, For example, our query service and a connector framework both are platform agnostic. So we were able to quickly switch between SharePoint's index and Elastic Index and able to showcase all the use cases in that time. And I think and that's how they liked us. And that's how we started.
So where do you go from there when you're facing a project like this? What's sort of step number one to try to wrap your head around how you're going to leverage the tools that you have to actually build a solution that meets the needs of users?
So once we get the POC done, right, and then there's a decision phase, and when the customer decided to go with us, then we start talking about the actual implementation, which is to obviously build upon the use cases that we got during the POC. There are more use cases, and then we also talk about expanding the scope of call, right? And then this customer, being a pharmaceutical customer, had a huge set of taxonomies that they wanted to use to classify the content. And that was really important for them because they have so many clinical trials and clinical studies documents that are created on a daily basis. So it was really important for them to classify those, right, and generate major topics that are very relevant about those documents.
Can you give me a sense of the scale of the sort of size of their library that we're talking about in terms of just raw numbers? Do you have a sense of that off the top of your head?
Sure. It's about a million items. That we're talking about, and this content came from multiple sources also, right? So with our connector framework, we were crawling content from multiple sources into SharePoint Index.
We've talked about pharmaceutical or organizations before, and sort of the level of complexity that goes into marrying the kinds of disparate systems, the discrete systems, because the data is it ends up being just supplied in such a crazy variety of ways. How is it that you sort of, I don't know what's the word, normalize the data so that so that end users are able to see something that makes sense? In a unified sort of search front. That's sort of what you're here to do, yeah?
Yes, yep. That was the primary goal. They also had other requirements, but I would say that was the primary requirement for this project, to normalize the data and generate the auto classification, the metadata that the customer wanted. So first of all, I would like to talk a little bit about the auto classification that we did here, because auto classification was key for the project. Auto classifier is a BA Insight product. It provides a system for centralizing and managing enterprise taxonomies. And this customer, being a pharmaceutical customer, had 2 types of taxonomies. One was facet taxonomy that would drive the refiners, and the other was NCI concepts or NCI thesaurus, right? And NCIT is a widely recognized standard for biomedical coding and reference. And it is used by both public and private companies, nationally and internationally. And this customer had customized that to include their own drug names, clinical trials, clinical studies, right? So they wanted to classify their content using both the taxonomies. So they had relevant refiners that users could use to define the results by. And at the same time, they wanted to generate these major topics about the documents that we are classifying, right? So which are the documents that really talk about their drugs or the clinical trials? So we took our auto classifier tool to the next level and built something called major topics scoring for them, which allowed them to configure their rules. These were custom rules, customer specific, that they were able to customize or add to the auto classifier. And basically they wanted to not just identify those tags or the topics, they also wanted to assign a score, right? Which major topic is more relevant, so if you have a score attached to each topic, then on the UI side, hey, these are more relevant major topic, right? Now we can do anything with those major topic. You can sort their content, or you can use it to serve relevant content, right? And some of the major topics also match their products they were working on, or the clinical trials they were working on. And we also had users information about their department, their products, their preferences. So we could actually suggest results, relevant results to them, or suggest recommended results to them based on the information we had generated for them.
That's amazing. And I know, BA Insight is already quite adept at auto classifier, but it sounds like you're taking this, as you say, to the next level. Did you run into any roadblocks or headaches that stymied you along the way, or was this a fairly seamless development process?
We had some challenges, or I would say, it always takes some time to get it right, because there were some custom rules that we were setting up, and so we had to work closely with the customer and the vendor involved there to try and understand the taxonomies. The taxonomies were also sort of complex, the kind of relationship that was there. So to understand that, it did take us time, but once we had that grasp on that, we were able to import those taxonomy into auto classifier, and from there it was mostly seamless.
I imagine it's one of those things, given the complexity of the taxonomies, that they likely weren't even sure what they wanted or needed until they start digging into the results that you start showing them.
Right.
New horizons kind of open up. How does this play into, and forgive me if I'm pivoting too early here, if you're not finished with the auto classifier, please continue, but I'm really curious how this plays into their requirement for natural language processing. So
natural language processing is certainly very important, and it's really the upcoming trend that every company is trying to adapt and use. And so our auto classifier, does some processing on its own. Right, so we're using this text analytics and NER to identify relevant tags, and at the same time, we can also integrate with some of the tools they already have. Because this is a pharmaceutical company, they have been using these third-party text analytics tool or NLP tool, and our auto classifier from BA Insight can integrate with those tools. And the integration is very easy. All we need to know is the information that we need to use the NLP tool in auto classifier, and we can get the information back to auto classifier and tag the documents. So we have some level of NLP that we do ourselves, plus we can also integrate with any third-party NLP tools that are out there.
What other BA Insight products did you end up sort of rolling into this project to deliver their final solution, and how'd you use them? I guess I should say, what's your favorite implementation or part of this implementation?
So my favorite was also to be able to capture user preferences on the UI side, right? When a user comes to the system for the first time, they're making users to go through these setup pages where users select their preferences, what products they are interested in, what are their commercial or non-commercial users, what functions they work on, what are their roles, and we're using that information to serve more relevant results to the users. So that whole experience to be able to capture users' preferences upfront, so we could serve more relevant results, was great experience for me to work on that. And it's not that we were forcing users to do that was optional, right? So whoever users really wanted to go through that, it was great to improve their search experience. And if there were users who did not really want to do that, they could still go to the search site and find the content, and we were using their information from user profile to serve relevant results.
It's fascinating too on that point. I have the benefit, which unfortunately we can't share because this is not something we're going to share, inside information, but we do have this video that the internal team created to teach users how to go through this process, or what they're going to do on their sort of onboarding process for the new system. And it seemed to me very welcoming and warm and instructive and easy to use. What have the results been? I mean, have you found that users predominantly go through that process on their first run, or is it something that they sort of skip?
Yes, the feedback has been great. From what I've heard, the system has been live for about 2 years now. Almost every user in the company has gone through that process and has opted to provide their preferences for the search side, and their productivity has increased. They're able to quickly identify and find the documents, and end of the day, our goal was to provide quick and easy access to the content their users need to do their jobs efficiently and effectively, and I think we met that.
I feel like I steamrolled over that the first part of my last question, where I was hoping you could run through some of the other BA Insight tools and how you use them on this project, sort of a rapid fire, if you will.
Sure.
Beyond auto classifier, of course.
Yep. So this is one of our largest implementation, also products wise, right? So they had access to all the products in our offering, and we have used multiple connectors with our connector framework. So there's a connector for SharePoint Online, SharePoint on-prem content, connector to SQL data, connector to Viva Vault, which is a cloud-based document management system predominantly used by healthcare pharmaceutical companies. And besides connector, so we have auto classifier. So with auto classifier, we also customized it a little bit for them that I talked about. And on the UI side, to improve search experience, we used Visual Refiner, Smart Preview, and InfoSights.
Is it still the largest now that it's been out for 2 years? This still holds the title as the largest implementation in terms of straight up number of BA Insight tools?
After that, I think we have had other customers who are using a lot of connectors. Actually, we find many customers use our connectors a lot because we have 50 plus enterprise connectors. I'm not sure it still holds the title, but then it was a very exciting project for us. Besides these products that we talked about, connector framework, auto classifier, UI, we are also doing some unique, I should say unique work for this customer around the querying. or the querying technology, right? So there were some unique requirements around modifying the query based on who you are, right? Because we wanted to serve relevant results based on who you are, or personalized results, and that required us to work closely with how the queries were formed or how the queries were executed against the backend that we had. So around that, we also did some work, and we used our tool called Federator. And Federator is a tool that can intercept queries coming from the UI, and then it can expand the query, so the query becomes personalized, or the query can be expanded to include other synonyms or any other terms that we needed. And we've done some work for these customers because the requirements were unique. And that was also a unique experience in this project. This was an enterprise global search system serving multiple departments at the company in multiple countries around the world. So we have active customers from UK, from United States, and from many countries in the Europe that use these applications on a day-to-day basis. And we can actually see that by going to a smart analytics tool, which is also a BA Insight offering. And then, so by building this application, the customer was able to consolidate multiple legal systems they had into a single system. And it was also flexible enough to meet their specific needs for each audience. And it was a great experience working on this project.
That's fascinating. Some additional lessons learned around that. That sort of relates back to what we were talking about with that onboarding process, right? I mean, you want to make sure you not only are the users reporting the data that they, their preferences up front, but you're also sort of configuring that experience on their behalf on the back end.
Correct. Yeah, that was the whole idea, So we were able to capture the preferences up front, right, during the onboarding process. And the work around Federator was to utilize that information, to consume that information so we can serve relevant and personalized results to users. So,
well, I imagine when you're working on this and dealing with this sort of milestone level, implementation for a customer, that you learn a lot of lessons. I wonder if you could think back, even knowing now that it's been a couple of years since it launched. How has this project and projects like it shaped your perspective on what it means to have successful enterprise search?
End of the day, if the search application is actually helping the customer increase their productivity or not, right? And I think it is in this case. I remember when we were working on this project, there were some cases where Microsoft SharePoint did not do what it was supposed to do, right? So there were some cases. First of all, they were also very new to SharePoint 2016. SharePoint 2016 was just out, and this customer decided to adopt that instead of going to SharePoint 2013. Went with SharePoint 2016, there were some challenges. So some cases were filed with Microsoft. And because this is such a large customer for Microsoft as well, they were able to work closely with us on some of the product related issues. And then I saw Microsoft asking for these impact analysis documents, when we reported something. And I think that gave a sense of how important this project was, what's the impact to the users or the day-to-day business if we don't get this right. Having to do that impact analysis document for Microsoft gave me a perspective of how important this project was. And having now that project is live and users are using it, we can go back and look at this smart analytics. So by the way, they are still our customers. We are working on release 3, and there are more work scheduled for them. So the relationship has been great also. But I can see that the customer is really happy and like the work, and it's really helping them.
That's fantastic. Fantastic lessons learned, and also it has to feel just really good to work on something that impacts so many users every day.
Yep.
This is a fantastic project, and I would encourage everybody to head over to bainsight.com to the Search Solutions for Life Sciences page. There's a link directly in the show notes to that page. So just swipe over and tap, and you'll see links to all of the products that Sanjaya has talked about today. You can get some ideas and some videos about how these products work, how they work together, and there's some links to terrific case studies and podcasts that we've done on that page as well that help you get a sense for how BA Insight software can help to integrate and build terrific global search solutions for pharma. This has been a great conversation. Sanjaya Paudel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time and attention today. Everybody who's downloaded this podcast, we sure appreciate those kind 5-star reviews in Apple Podcasts or iTunes or any of the podcast app directories that you may be using. Share the love. We sure appreciate it. And on behalf of Sanjaya Paudel, BA Insight, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next time right here on Shared Insights.